Now he's sounding like he's like Geraldo here. You know, he's deeper than previous. He never reported it in the first place. Nobody even reported it, dummy. I was never even discussed with Mastriano until I just spoke with him a week ago. And then it's even deeper. How do we know it's deeper? He doesn't say how.
But you know what's so funny is like, I know how you ended up getting there. He didn't even know who you were. You know, it makes it sound like you're palling around on January 6th.
Oh, don't reveal that. Don't reveal. Let the mystery continue to stew.
All right.
Mastriano and I have been secretly working on this takeover of government for years. Even though he didn't know who I was till 2 weeks ago. Now, I have to say that our relationship is deeper than previously reported because we went from 5 words spoken between us to 12.
Woo!
It was nice to meet you, and thank you very much for coming to my event. It's a lot. Anyway, there's troubling new evidence the candidate's own Christian nationalistic aims and roots Mastriano even more plainly within an end-time religious movement known, dun, dun, dun. This is where I got to get my piano going. I got a keyboard here. You guys never notice I have a keyboard? I'm going to start incorporating it in to our show. Dun, dun, dun.
Is it on?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
The New Apostolic Reformation. Now, we're seeing the NAR coming up. Now, we got friends of ours, again, that are obsessing over NAR. They're doing whole creed responses and white papers on answering the NAR accusation. There is no NAR.
I thought I was a member of the NAR.
Huh?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is NRA. My bad.
No. Yeah, no, NRA. And besides that, if there was, it wouldn't be NAR, it would be the New Apostolic Intercessory Reformation, otherwise known as NAIR, for the removal of unsightly hair, whose followers believe that we are living in an age of new apostles and prophets who receive direct revelations from God. Direct revelations from God. Do you know that we believe that people can receive direct revelations from God? I guess so.
I mean, again, if you had read either of your books.
The moment that the moment that God, Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice." Like I get a direct revelation from God every time my wife tells me, "Lance, remember, be nice." That's a direct revelation from God. Anyway, the New Apostolic Reformation is a term that I think that Peter Wagner coined years ago in order to describe the fact that there was a global south growth of the only churches that are outstripping Islam were the spirit-filled, New Apostolic, Pentecostal-type churches that were kind of like led by charismatic leadership and practiced believing in the supernatural, answers to prayer, et cetera, had lively worship. They are the churches that literally are outgrowing, outdistancing Islam all over the world. So Peter Wagner used the term New Apostolic Reformation, and they're obsessing over it. Let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the devil is giving us a gift because their preoccupation with Dominionism, Seven Mountains, and the New Apostolic Reformation suggests to me that we might need a New Apostolic Reformation, take seriously the Seven Mountains, and start looking at the Dominionism from a different angle.
Okay.
Because we're not into their version of Dominionism, which is forced, submitted. We don't lie about them and destroy them. But we do believe, like in Italy right now, the prime minister there, she got elected because she's saying no to their screw-up of the nation in the Seven Mountains. The left will take over every mountain you give it. It'll educate your kids to think that maybe they're a girl if they're a boy, to think that maybe they're attracted to the same sex or to whatever. They'll get into every domain and scramble the eggs up.
Yeah, and we read about that too, of how it's alternate religion. And it's whatever worldview he's writing from, it's his own belief system. And my point is, what makes your belief system any better than my belief system, or Muslims' belief system, or Jews' belief
Talking
system?
about Tim Dickinson here?
It's a monotheistic worldview with the God who gives people fundamental rights and holds them to a moral accountability standard. So what exactly is dangerous about it?
You don't have a right. See, you might be 30 or 40% of the United States, but you don't have a right to participate in democracy because you're a Christian. See, Christians aren't allowed to be in government. Christians aren't allowed to have public office. Christians aren't allowed to share the same bathrooms.
Okay, now hear me out. That's what the implications of this are. And in my opinion, It's religious discrimination and it's hate speech. And anybody who writes content like this shouldn't be shared online, and every single person should report it to their social media platforms as religious discrimination. Because Lance, where does the line stop? Am I qualified to run a business if I'm a Christian? Can I be an actor? Can I be a musician if I'm a Christian? I hold this fundamental worldview. Where's the line? If I can't govern, and to my point, do you say it to a Buddhist? Do you say it to a Sikh? Do you say it to a Muslim? Do you say it to a Jew? Is Ben Shapiro a Jewish nationalist? What exactly are you implying here? I mean, it's alarming. And they paint the picture, and their definition of a Christian nationalist is somebody who believes it's a theocracy. That's not what we believe. That is not what I think a majority of Christians believe. So the power to define meaning of words is what we're at right now with this.
Yeah, and so let's go back. Yeah, the power to define. By the way, this is like James Davison Hunter's thesis in how to change the world, the triumph and tragedy of Christianity. He says this, that the ultimate spoils of the culture war is that the gatekeepers, those that control the institutions in law and government and media, arts and academia, are given the power to define the meaning of words. And what is a man? What is a female? We're watching that confusion. That Babylon, by the way, is the word confusion. We're watching America descend into Babylonian chaos and fragmentation and lose its strength and its grace, because its unity is actually based on, wait for it, a unified Christian worldview. That was how it was founded. That gave form and freedom. Enough freedom so you don't have to be a Christian to live here, but enough form so that your laws are derived from a certain worldview that presupposes transcendent values that are eternal and not temporary. Hence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. They're self-evident truths. They don't change because they're founded in God and not in man. Yep. There's a lot of thought in this thing. You guys are dismissing Tim Dickinson. All right, anyway, Tim says that the NAR believes that the second coming of Jesus is fast approaching, and that it's the destiny of Christians to accept. Now look at the language here. I write this, put this out there for people to read exactly in the illiterate way he wrote it. I don't mind being attacked, but at least use Grammarly before you publish for the Rolling Stones. So why don't you I'm going to read this the way it's written. NAR believers hold that the second coming of Jesus is fast approaching, and that it is the destiny of Christians is to accelerate the end times by exerting dominion over the world. That's what he wrote. Tim, Grammarly. I think what he's saying is that we believe it is the destiny of Christians to accelerate the end times by exerting dominion over the world. No, you don't accelerate the end times by exerting dominion over the world. Here's our theory. You can provide salt and light to slow down the damage and deterioration of the world under what we look at as an end times tribulation. We believe we can mitigate in some ways the rate of deterioration of nations, and that we believe, and this is where my own theology is a little different than others, that there are nations that resist this process. And that's why the Antichrist, this historic personage, as the Bible predicts, emerges out of this one world gobbledygook of end time events, is going to go at war with nations. Why? Because not every nation is submitting to his agenda. They might be the sheep nations Jesus refers to in Matthew 25 and versus the goat nations. But the point that I'm making is that Wallnow is best known for popularizing a quasi-biblical blueprint for theocracy called the Seven Mountain Mandate. You got it straight now, Tim? It's not a theocracy template. I just did a whole message on it. Go rewind it and watch it. It's about how culture is influenced. And by the way, it wasn't me, it's Antonio Gramsci in his theory of the sociology of culture, talking about the long march through the institutions, that said that the way that socialism would basically be able to infiltrate, like leaven, the American culture and other nations, is to go into academia, go into government, go into arts, go into media, go into business, just like the progressives have done, and so that you can termite freedom down from the inside out. What we're saying is Christians better go into media, or it's going to all be lies and propaganda. Better go into business, or it's all going to be ESG social credit scores under the authority of a centralized global bank that'll put all small business out of business so that the big titans are the ones that control all the money. We're saying Christianity is the firewall that slows down the destruction of nations. The left is always lecturing America about saving the soul of the nation. But Mario, you're a soul winner. What can you tell us about that?
America was founded on the teachings of Christ. The battle for the soul of this nation is to get it saved by Christ.
So we're going to have a massive evangelistic move of God that is going to confront the spiritual strongholds that are strangling America. Go to fireandglorytour.com and you're going to see where we're going to be gathering together in October 24th and 25th. All right, NAR followers like Wall Now believe that America is especially anointed by God to project Christianity across the globe. Yeah, I would say that America probably, as it used to be, not as it is now, was a restraining force in terms of the aspirations of North Korea, let's say, to take over South Korea, of China to assimilate Taiwan, of Russia to, let's say, take over the Ukraine. We could kind of keep Pakistan and India from going to nuclear blows with each other. We could keep the sea lanes open, keep the World Bank as a leverage on the rule of law, so that we had influence over a certain shared way of reading contracts and protecting intellectual property. All that comes from the West. But now the West is in a free fall of crazy zone. We've gone off in crazy land. We're so woke that France is saying, get your wokeness out of here. So our transgender race division, our unhealthy obsession with late-stage civilizational decadence and decline, self-indulgence, is now something which is perceived by Russia, by the way, and by China and by Islam as the deterioration of the West. That's the sad part. America is quickly losing its role. So yeah, I would say that America has historically restrained global anarchy, but that our ability to do so is weakening every day because Christianity has not exerted a strong enough moral hold on the nation. All right, I'm just saying that because Mercedes is giving me the signal to move on.
There's 11 pages here. We're only on page 4.
But there's a philosophical, geopolitical worldview that I'm trying to espouse here, and it's more complicated than people think. So anyway, they hold that the physical world is enveloped by supernatural dimensions featuring warring angels and demons, and are convinced that demons afflict their enemies on behalf of the devil. I guess what you're saying here is that Thomas Aquinas and Augustine and Luther and all the other scholars of the ages just didn't know what they were talking about because Tim Dickinson has a superior analysis.
Or the Catholic Church. Or
the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So basically, or, Harvard Theological Seminary. So here, Tim, here's the deal. Basically, what you're troubling here, what you're working on, is the area called the cosmology of the cosmos. And in Ephesians, it was the Apostle Paul, student of Gamaliel, brilliant rabbi and speaker of Greek, who postulated his theory that the invisible realm exists with an intelligence that is in that dimension. A lot of religions would agree with that. Maybe you don't have one, so you got to understand your atheism on that. But in the religious worldview, spiritual beings are as real as physical beings, and there is an ascending hierarchy. Just as so, there's principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. I'm quoting from one epistle called Ephesians, chapter 6. So the Apostle Paul saw a descending hierarchy in the cosmology of heaven. There's archangels and angels, and then there's other ministering spirits. There's a rank and an order. I'm just pointing out that yes, there is this belief, and it's our belief that these invisible forces actually work their way out in the rise and fall of nations. Now, the movement holds that these spiritual battles are reflected in earthly politics. So far, so good. As the late NAR founder, C. Peter Widener, explained in a striking NPR interview in 2011, I believe there's a lot of demonic control over Congress. Peter's right on that one. But there's even more in media. In the world, according to Wall Now, the MAGA movement is guided by Jesus against devilish Democrats. Nope, not fair. I think there's devilish Republicans, too. Wall Now spent years insisting that Trump was an instrument of the Lord, even declaring that fighting with Trump is fighting with God. Where is that quote exactly, Tim Dickinson?
I'm pretty sure you said that.
Huh?
I'll go, I'm pretty sure you said that.
No, I might have said it in a larger context.
Yeah.
Like if God is raising up Cyrus.
Yeah, exactly.
Then to resist someone that God is putting into office
Oh, I
as
see
though
what,
you were
I
fighting
see what you're
against God
saying.
himself.
I see how it sounds very extreme, but
Yeah,
I
it
kind of
sounds
knew what
extreme.
you
But I
meant.
put it in the context of my
Yeah.
meticulous
Yeah.
contextualization.
Yeah.
By contrast, as documented by Right Wing Watch. Wait, we're quoting. I love it when they quote Right Wing Watch. Kyle at Right Wing Watch, which is like two guys.
It's one guy.
Yeah, it's one
literally
guy.
one guy, I think, that runs that
No,
whole
it's like
site.
the National Enquirer of media, specificity. Sightings of Bigfoot and Cindy Jacobs just happened this
I
weekend.
mean, at least create another user with a different name. That's like you're still writing, but it looks like there's other authors,
yeah,
right?
gosh, Kyle. And anyway, so Right Wing Watch is not exactly the objective scientific source for testing all theories. Wall now insists that Antichrist Biden is an illegal counterfeit and an evil role. Antichrist, let me reframe that right now. I do not believe that Biden is the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be far more coherent than Joe Biden. I guarantee that. And but I do believe that there's Antichrist spirits because the characteristic of Antichrist is lawless. And so there's a lawless spirit that is working right through the entire government right now. Environmentalists who seek to limit fossil fuel extraction are under control of demons. Well, I would say that their fanaticism is certainly destroying the economic capacity of the West. And to that extent, yes, that's a demonic idea. By the way, it's called Doctrines of Demons, the Apostle Paul called it, which basically means theories and platforms that are going to be destructive when implemented. Hey there, you just listened to an excerpt. That's a little bit of the podcast. So if you want to get the whole thing, because there's a lot more content there, go to lancewallnau.com/podcast.